This happened a few weeks ago. I was in a small town in Wales, hoping to revive my documentary filmmaking career. I was excited, but also nervous. The cobblestone streets and stone buildings looked charming, but something felt wrong with the townsfolk. They smiled, but their eyes were cautious. I heard whispers about two twins who vanished years ago. The locals didn't say much, but their expressions changed when I mentioned the twins. It sent a chill down my spine. I thought I could dig into their story and pull the mystery into my film. I wanted to learn about their strange language. Surely, it would make for a gripping tale that I had a chat with Elsie, an old woman from the town. She told me about how the twins would speak in a tongue only they understood. Those words sounded odd and unsettling. Maybe I should drop the whole thing there. But I didn't. I pressed on, recording every piece of information I could get, then the dream started. The twins were in them, always staring at me with empty eyes. I woke up feeling cold and uneasy. Was this just stress? Or was it something more? I kept searching for answers and found old recordings at the library. They were faded but had their voices. The more I listened, the more I felt pulled in, as if I needed to understand them. People began to look at me differently. I felt their eyes watching me, their whispers brushing against my skin. I heard them talk about someone digging too deep. I thought about backing off. But I couldn't. I needed to know what had happened to the twins. In spite of the risk. One day, I discovered an old, dusty map marking the twins' last known place. My heart raced. Something felt wrong, but I couldn't turn away. Suddenly, I saw the twins from my dreams, standing there, staring. I asked if they were okay, but no words came back. That I felt a strange pull to keep going. But then, as I glanced back at the map, I noticed a shadow moving behind me. It sent a jolt through me. I could almost hear the twins calling out. I turned, but no one was there. The weight of what I felt sank deep. That I looked at the map again. My chest tightened. Was it the truth I was chasing, or was it something darker? Every part of me screamed to run. But the thought of finding out what happened to the twins held me fast. As I stood there, torn between fear and curiosity, I heard a whisper, "Please." It was soft but clear. My heart pounded. Was it the twins? I felt their presence all around me. I had a choice to make: follow the mystery deeper or back away from something I clearly didn't understand. The shadow flickered again. I took a breath, thinking of the truth. What would I discover if I pressed on? Would I find the twins? Or would I lose myself along the way? The next morning, I felt the weight of the map in my pocket. It was a tangle of fear and determination that pushed me toward the forest where the twins were last seen. I stepped onto the path, every crack of a twig twisting my stomach. The air was heavy, thick with something unnameable. As I moved deeper into the woods, I kept expecting to see the twins again, their pale faces glowing in the dappled sunlight. My mind raced with questions. What if they were still out there? What if they needed help? Or worse, what if I was here for something far more sinister? The whispers continued to swirl in my head. I thought about how the townsfolk looked at me. They weren't just being cautious. They were warning me. But now, it felt too late to turn back. I found myself drawn to a clearing. The light flickered through the trees, illuminating an old stone well. It was slimy and overgrown, but I couldn't shake the feeling that it held a secret. That I approached with hesitance. The well looked ancient, as if it hadn't been touched for years. I peered over the edge and saw nothing but darkness. As I leaned in closer, I heard a faint echoing voice, almost chanting. It sounded like the twins. "Help us, please." The chills broke out over my arms as I stepped back. My heart raced, and I struggled to catch my breath. I had to be hearing things, but the voice was so clear. Instinctively, I pulled out my recorder. If I could capture this, it might provide the understanding I sought. Before I hit record, I noticed something glimmering next to the well. I leaned down and brushed aside the damp leaves. A small, ornate locket lay there, covered in dirt. I unclasped it and opened it slowly, revealing faded photographs of two smiling girls, twins. My pulse quickened. But then, something cold gripped my ankle. I gasped, stumbling backward. I looked down and saw a shadowy figure emerging from the well, its shape twisting unnaturally. Panic surged through me. I dropped the locket as I turned to run, that I bolted through the trees, branches scratching my arms. Every crunch of leaves sounded like footsteps right behind me. I could feel the presence closing in. The voice echoed again, "Stay with us." I stumbled into the village, panic clouding my mind. I had to know what this meant. I rushed toward Elsie, gripping the locket tightly. Would she recognize it? Would she understand? When I reached her, she was peeling potatoes outside her tiny cottage. Her eyes flicked up, wide with fear. "You mustn't have gone to the well," she shouted. "You shouldn't have disturbed them." I tried to explain what I found, my words tumbling out in a rush. But she shook her head. "It's not just a story. You need to leave. You're in danger now." Before I could respond, the air grew cold, and a shroud of silence enveloped us. Something shifted in the shadows, and I sensed everything around me change. The weight of the twins' presence lingered. My breathing quickened, and just as I thought to ask Elsie about the locket, I saw the reflection of two pale faces watching us from the corner of my eye. That I turned, but there was nothing there. A surge of urgency washed over me. Where were they leading me? What awaited in the darkness? I needed to figure it out before it was too late. The ground felt uneven beneath my feet as I pulled away from Elsie, my heart racing. I had to get answers, but something in the air held me back. I glanced around, expecting to see the twins again, their faces hovering just out of sight. Instead, the village felt oddly empty, the whispers from the woods still fresh in my mind. I turned to Elsie. "What do you mean I'm in danger? What happened to the twins?" Her eyes hardened. "You don't understand. They were taken by something that waits in the darkness. The well is cursed, nothing good comes from it." The locket felt heavy in my hand, a tangible reminder of what I'd just faced. "But they called for help. I heard them." Elsie shifted uncomfortably, her gaze darting toward the trees. "You shouldn't have listened. Others have heard them too, and they never came back." Her words sank in, and dread settled over me. I wanted to believe I could save them, or at least understand what happened. "What do you know about the well?" "The well once belonged to the village's founder. It was said to be a portal," she said, her voice low. "Those who fall and don't return but instead become trapped, their souls yearning for release." A chill crept up my spine as I processed her words. I felt compelled to confront this darkness, yet fear clung to every thought. I needed more answers. "What about the locket?" I asked, holding it out. "Do you recognize it?" Elsie's face went pale, and she took a step back. "That belonged to the twins." "How did you get it?" "I found it by the well," I admitted. "It was all covered in dirt. I think it might be important." She hesitated, glancing nervously at the woods. "We need to go now." Before I could argue, a sharp scream pierced the air, a sound so raw and desperate that it sent a jolt of fear through me. The scream echoed from the direction of the well. I could hardly breathe. "Stay close," Elsie urged, pulling me with her into a hurried retreat. "It knows you're here now." "Who knows?" My voice trembled. As we reached the edge of the village, I saw shadows twisting unnaturally among the trees. Just then, the ground shook, and the leaves rustled as if something massive was moving through the forest. My heart raced with a terrifying realization. The twins were not the only spirits present. "Look!" I pointed toward the well. An ethereal light flickered above it, illuminating the clearing. "What is that?" Elsie paled. "It's a bad sign." We have to leave before they come for you. But something deep inside me refused to budge. I needed to understand, to confront whatever force lay there. What if it's the answer? What if no? She grabbed my wrist tightly. You won't have to face this alone, but we need to get help. I know someone. Before I could respond, a low rumble filled the air, and shadows swirled around us, forming a shape. Panic surged as I faced the darkness that threatened to consume everything. The twins' voices echoed once more, filled with pain and familiarity. Help us please. Then everything went dark. I gasped as consciousness returned, my mind clouded with confusion. I was lying on the forest floor, the damp earth chilling my skin. Panic washed over me as I tried to sit up, but the weight of fear kept me pinned. Where was Elsie? The air was still, too still, and the only sound was the distant rustle of leaves. I pushed myself up, trembling as I looked around. The shadows from before were gone, but I could feel their presence lurking just beyond my vision. The well loomed in front of me, now quiet, its surface reflecting a faint shimmer. Elsie! I called, my voice trembling. I strained to hear an answer, but the stillness swallowed my words whole. I felt sick, lost. The locket lay beside me, untouched. I grabbed it, my fingers brushing over the cool metal. If it belonged to the twins, it had to mean something. In that eerie silence, I noticed footprints in the dirt. They were fresh, definitely not mine. Panic gripped me again. Were they Elsie's? A flash of movement caught my eye, and I turned to see something darting between trees. I stood quickly, my heart racing. Wait! Who is there? I shouted, feeling foolish. My voice echoed back, mocking me. The dim light above the well flickered again, casting strange shadows that danced across the ground. That light was drawing me in, and I hated how much I wanted to move closer. I took a step forward, then another, hesitating. What if the shadows came back? What if it was a trap? My instincts screamed at me to run, but I couldn't leave without knowing what had happened. Suddenly, the whispers returned, flowing around me like a cold breeze. Help us, please. Their voices mingled like a haunting song, each note clinging to my skin. I recoiled, stumbling back, but then I heard a soft sob. Hello? I called, my voice shaky. Is someone there? Out of the shadows stepped a figure, small and delicate. I squinted, my heart pounding as the dim light revealed familiar features. It was one of the twins, their outlines shimmering like an old photograph brought to life. Lila. I whispered, breathless. Is that you? The twin nodded, her wide eyes shimmering with unshed tears. You need to help us. We're trapped. It's not safe. Her words pierced deep into my chest. But what happened? Are you okay? Her face twisted in anguish. We can't leave. The well, it won't let us go. I felt a surge of desperation. I'll find a way to help you. Just stay there. But her features twisted, uncertainty clouding her eyes. You can't stop it. It wants you. It needs you. Who? What does? At that moment, a shadow flared behind her, and the whispers grew louder. Lila. I cried out, but she seemed to dissolve, flickering like a flame in the wind. Then I saw her again, but this time she was crying. You need to run. Don't go. I reached for her, but the darkness swelled, closing around me. The world twisted, brightening and dimming. In an instant, the well exploded with light, and everything vanished. I gasped again, feeling the cold bite of fear seize me, but this time I found myself not alone. There was a figure beside me, fear etched across their face. And in that moment, I knew whatever was out there, it was only just beginning. My heart raced as I turned to the figure beside me, barely managing to catch my breath. It was a girl, her dark hair framing a pale face. She looked just as terrified as I felt. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Cassie," she said, glancing around nervously. "I was looking for the twins." "Is that why you're here?" I nodded slowly, the name stirring a memory. "Yes, Lila and Elsie. I've seen them." Cassie's eyes widened. "What happened?" "They used to talk about a secret place." "Is it the well?" I shivered at the mention of the well. "They were here, but something's wrong." "Lila," she said, "they were trapped." Cassie took a step closer, her voice dropping. "If they were trapped, it means it's still here." "The darkness." I frowned, trying to shake off the dread creeping in. "What do you mean?" "The legends say the well was cursed. The twins kept it a secret. They thought they could break the curse, but now, it seems they're part of it." A chill ran down my spine. "What does that mean for us?" "We can't just leave them. We have to be careful. If we're drawn to the well, it could take us, too." I met her gaze, my knuckles white as I gripped the locket. "But I can't just ignore them." As if summoned by my thoughts, the whispers surged louder, swirling around us like a storm. "Help us!" The cry was desperate now, laced with pain. "Please, no!" Cassie shouted, covering her ears. "We need to move away from here." But I hesitated. Part of me feared the well, but another part felt compelled. "I have to try. If they're trapped, I can't leave them." Before Cassie could argue, I took a step back toward the well, the light beyond its edge glowing brighter. The whispers danced through me, mixing with fear and longing. Just then, a shadow darted from behind a tree, crashing into my side. I stumbled, caught off guard, and instinctively reached for the locket in my pocket. "Get back!" I cried, shoving the shadow away. It stumbled back, revealing a boy, dirt smudged on his face, eyes wide with terror. "I saw you!" he gasped. "You have to help. They took my sister." "Who took her?" I demanded, my heart pounding. "The shadows. They took her." His voice broke, terror cracking through his brave facade. My chest tightened. This wasn't just about Lila and Elsie anymore. There were others caught in this dark web. I glanced at Cassie and the boy, seeing their fear reflected in my own. But what if they were right? What if the well was safe? I didn't know what to believe. Then, a loud crack echoed through the forest, sending birds scattering into the sky. The ground trembled beneath our feet. "That wasn't just a sound," Cassie whispered, backing away. "We need to go now." But the whispers grew more insistent, demanding my attention. I felt the locket growing warm in my hand. "Wait!" I yelled as a pulse of energy surged from the well. It wrapped around me like an unseen force, dragging me closer as shadows tightened their grip on the world. Then everything went dark. As I tumbled into the void, a final thought struck me: whatever was happening, the true horror was only beginning. I fell into a swirling darkness, my body weightless as I tumbled through an endless void. My heart raced. I was panicking, trying to scream, but no sound came out. The whispers surrounded me, faint but growing louder, echoing like trapped voices in the dark. Suddenly, I hit the ground hard. The impact jolted me, forcing me to gasp for air. I opened my eyes to find myself in a dimly lit cavern, the walls glistening with moisture. I could hear the whispers clearer now, a mix of cries and pleas resonating off the stone. "Help us please!" I scrambled to my feet, my heart hammering in my chest. I squinted through the gloom, trying to spot Cassie and the boy. "Cassie? Are you here?" Silence descended, and for a moment, I felt utterly alone. Panic crept into my thoughts. Had I lost them? Then I spotted a flicker of light ahead. I hurried toward it, the whispers intensifying with each step. Shadows danced along the cave walls, and I felt an unsettling chill raise the hair on my arms. As I approached the glow, I could see it was a pool of water, sparkling like stars scattered across its surface. It was beautiful, yet ominous. I hesitated, fear clawing at me. Was this the well? Lila. Elsie. I shouted, hoping for a response. But all I heard were the whispers, growing manic around me. Suddenly, the water began to ripple, disturbing the tranquil surface. I leaned closer, stepping to the edge. In the depths, dark shapes shifted and circled, just out of reach. My breath caught in my throat. Please, help us. The voices were clearer now, filled with urgency and despair. Where are you? I couldn't help but ask, feeling a pull deep within me, an urge to dive in despite my better judgment. Just then, I noticed something out of the corner of my eye. Cassie and the boy were emerging from the shadows, their faces pale and terrified. There you are. Cassie exclaimed, her voice breaking. What happened? Do you see them? I hear them there in the water, I said, pointing. My heart raced again. We have to save them. No. Cassie shouted, grabbing my arm tightly. It's not safe. If you go in, you won't come back. But we can't just leave them. I argued, torn between the voices begging for help and Cassie's fearful grip. The boy stepped forward, his eyes pleading. They took my sister. We can't let the shadows win. The murmurs from the pool grew louder, almost like an incantation. I felt the locket in my pocket pulsing, hot against my skin. I had to make a choice. Before I could think any further, the ground shook beneath us again. The shadows were rising, forming tendrils reaching out toward the light. We need to get out. Cassie shouted, panic lacing her tone. But just as she spoke, the water erupted in a sudden surge, sending a wave crashing towards us. Then, with a sharp intake of breath, I realized the darkness wasn't just a threat. It was alive, hunting for us. My instincts kicked in. I turned to run, dragging Cassie and the boy with me. As we fled, I glanced back at the pool, knowing the choices we made next would change everything, that we had to find a way to confront the darkness, but I couldn't shake the feeling that its true form was more sinister than we could imagine. I found myself thinking, what if we were all just pawns in a game much larger than ourselves? But I knew one thing for certain, the twins weren't the only ones trapped here. And whatever was lurking in the dark wanted us next. We stumbled through the cavern, each step echoing ominously off the damp stone. The whispers still danced around us, weaving through the shadows, and my heart pounded louder than the murmurs, drowning them out. I could see Cassie's face, a mask of confusion and despair, and the boy's fear mirrored my own. Where do we go? I asked, casting around for anything that could guide us. I think we need to find another way out, Cassie replied, her voice tremulous. But we have to be careful. Whatever's down here is not okay. Right, I said, trying to sound brave. Just keep moving. As we maneuvered deeper into the cavern, the air thickened, feeling heavier, as if the darkness were pressing in on us. I felt the locket in my pocket again, hot and uncomfortable. It was unsettling that it seemed to pulse in rhythm with my racing heart, that we found ourselves in a larger chamber, illuminated by strange, flickering lights that hovered like fireflies. They pulled me in, beckoning me closer. But the whispers turned frantic, rising into a cacophony of pleas. Don't listen to them. The boy suddenly screamed, his face pale with panic. They're lying. What do you mean? I shot back, confused. I can hear what they're saying. His eyes darted nervously. They try to trick us, make us think they need help. I want to let them take you. I felt a shiver crawl down my spine. I had trusted those voices before. Were they really lying? Cautiously, I moved forward, trying to peer through the swirling shadows where the lights flickered. Suddenly, a face emerged from the dark, twisted and grotesque, the features shifting like liquid. I gasped and stumbled back. Did you see that? Cassie nodded, eyes wide, trembling. It's not just in our heads. Before we could fully comprehend what was happening, the lights dimmed drastically. The shadows coalesced, forming a wall that began to close around us. "Run!" I shouted. We bolted toward the nearest corridor, the whispers now turning into shrieks of rage as the shadows unleashed their fury. We sprinted down the narrow path, barely glancing back, the darkness clawing at our heels. I could feel the cold breath of the shadows against me, and fear surged through my veins, but then something caught my eye, a glimmering object half buried in the ground. I skidded to a halt, heart racing. "Wait! Over here!" Cassie and the boys stopped, their expressions questioning. I knelt, digging the object out. It was a small, intricately carved stone, smooth and warm in my hands. "What is it?" Cassie asked, anxiety fitting tightly in her voice. "I don't know, but maybe it can help us." I stood, ready to flee again. Just then, I noticed a faint glowing symbol on the stone, pulsating in sync with the locket in my pocket. The shadows roared, and I felt the wall narrow further. Whatever it is, we need to figure it out fast. Then I caught a sliver of insight. What if this stone can lead us out? But before we could act, the ground beneath us trembled violently, and everything lurched. Once again, I felt that pull, a connection to the darkness, and my mind raced with unsettling possibilities. The shadows writhed closer, the distance between us shrinking. And that's when I realized I wasn't just holding a stone. I was holding the very key to our survival, or perhaps, to our doom. The ground shook again, and I stumbled, nearly losing my grip on the stone. "We need to move!" I shouted, my voice drowning out the chaos around us. The shadows were closing in, their forms twisting and contorting like angry fists reaching for us. Cassie grabbed my arm, her face pale. "What do we do with it?" I focused on the glowing symbol, its rhythm synchronizing with my pulse. I think it wants us to use it. Maybe it can push them back." With no time to lose, I held the stone in front of me, hoping it would respond to my instincts. "Go away!" I yelled at the shadows, channeling every ounce of defiance I could muster. The shadows hesitated, hovering just outside our immediate space. In response, the stone grew hotter in my hand, almost like it was alive. Suddenly, a beam of light shot out from the symbol, cutting through the dark, illuminating a path ahead. "Whoa," the boy murmured, staring wide-eyed at the light. "It's working. Let us go," I said, pulling Cassie along with me. The boy followed closely, the light pushing back against the shadows just enough for us to escape into the tunnel it revealed. As we ran, the whispers transformed back into frantic murmurs, but they felt distant, as if we were leaving them behind. The tunnel twisted and turned, and I could barely keep my bearings. But the light from the stone was steady, guiding us like a lighthouse in a storm. "Do you think we'll really make it out?" Cassie puffed, glancing warily at the shadows that lingered at the edge of the light. I nodded, though I could hear my heartbeat thundering in my ears. "We have to." Just then, the ground shifted again, vibrating under our feet. I lost my footing and fell to one knee, the stone slipping from my grasp. Dark tendrils of shadow snaked toward it, ready to consume it. "No!" I lunged for it, my fingers just grazing the cool stone. The moment I touched it, the light flared brighter. I felt a surge of energy course through me, and I shot upward, the shadows recoiling from the light. They screeched, a sound so chilling it made my skin crawl. "What is happening?" the boy yelled, panic creeping into his voice. "I don't know," I gasped. "But we have to keep going. Come on." I grabbed the stone and sprinted forward, Cassie and the boy right behind me. The shadows lunged again, snapping at our heels. I felt their cold breath against my back, desperate and chaotic. As we reached the end of the tunnel, another tremor hit, and the ground opened up beneath us. "We're not going to make it," Cassie screamed, her voice breaking. Suddenly, I noticed another glowing symbol on the wall ahead. "Over there." I shouted. If we can just reach that light. But before we could take another step, the shadows roared anew, and a massive cloud of darkness surged forward, filling the tunnel. Everything went cold and dark, then, as if time had frozen, I heard a whisper, not of threat but a call, a memory. And in that moment, I realized, we weren't just fleeing something. We were running towards something unknown. What if it wasn't just escape? What if it was fate? I didn't want to think about it. I tightened my grip on the stone and ran faster, the world around us collapsing into chaos as we plunged into the light, and then, there was nothing but silence. And I knew, whatever lay beyond that moment would change everything. I blinked and suddenly we were somewhere else. The cold darkness was gone, replaced by an expanse of shimmering light. The tunnel had vanished, and in its place stretched a vast, bright field, dotted with blooming flowers that towered above our heads. What just happened? Cassie gasped, looking around in disbelief. That I took a deep breath, trying to make sense of our surroundings. I don't know, but we're not in that tunnel anymore. I think we made it. The boy's eyes were wide as he knelt down to touch one of the flowers. It's beautiful, he whispered, his fingers curling around the soft petals. But something felt off. The air was thick with a strange energy, emitting an almost melodic hum that vibrated through my bones. We should keep moving, I said, caution bubbling up inside me. This place feels other. Cassie nodded, her brow furrowing as she scanned the horizon. Where do we go, though? There's nothing but fields. As we inched forward, a faint sound reached my ears, a mixture of voices singing and chanting. It was soft but distinct, like a warning wrapped in poetry. My heart quickened. Do you hear that? The boy straightened up, his face pale. Yeah, but I don't think we should follow it. It sounds wrong. Just then, I noticed movement from the edge of the field. Figures emerged, cloaked in mist and shadow, their features indistinct. Keep the stone close, I whispered, feeling its warmth against my palm. As they drew nearer, my breath caught in my throat. They looked like us, similar faces, glowing eyes, but there was an underlying darkness that made my skin crawl. Who are they? Cassie asked, her voice barely audible. I don't know. But they're not friendly. The figures closed in, their whispers blending into a cacophony of fear and longing. The air around them crackled with an energy that made the flowers tremble. The tallest figure stepped forward, raising a hand as if to beckon us closer. Come, the voice echoed, smooth yet chilling. You seek answers. We hold the keys to your fate. Run! I shouted, instinctively pulling Cassie and the boy with me. Fear propelled us forward as the shadowy figures moved in closer, their whispering growing more intense, more insistent, but the beautiful field began to distort, the flowers wilting and shriveling under the pressure of the dark energy surrounding us. Panic surged in my chest. We were losing our escape, our hope of finding safety. Then I felt a sharp pull from the stone in my hand. It vibrated violently, and the glowing symbol pulsed as if it could sense our fear. I could hardly keep my grip on it as we sprinted past the twisted flora, desperately seeking an exit. That's when I saw it, a dark portal flickering in the distance, half hidden by the shadows. Over there! I yelled. We have to reach that. Are you sure? Cassie asked, glancing back at our pursuers, their forms morphing into nightmarish shapes. Yes. It's our only chance. We ran toward the portal, the oppressive whispers closing in. But as we neared, it flickered, then faded, revealing a wall of shadows where freedom had been. No! I screamed, desperation clawing at my throat. Don't let them catch us. But then, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed another shimmering light, this one pulsing with a rhythm that matched the stone. It was my only hope and I had to reach it, and just as we turned, a chilling voice echoed in the air, you can't escape your destinies. Everything felt like it was unraveling, and my heart raced as I lunged for the light. But with every step I took, the shadows loomed and the darkness threatened to consume us whole. I felt my heart pounding against my ribs as I dove for the shimmering light, the only beacon in a sea of chaos. The stone pulsed in my hand, as if sensing my desperation, and I plunged forward just as the shadows surged behind us, ravenous and relentless. Cassie and the boy followed closely, their breaths ragged, fear etched across their faces. As I approached the light, I sensed it vibrating with energy, calling out to me. "Keep moving," I urged, my voice rising above the cacophony of whispers and shrieks. The light erupted around me like a burst of electricity, swallowing me whole. In an instant, I was thrown into a swirling torrent of colors and sounds, light surrounding me in every direction, mingling with the dark whispers that were still echoing in my ears. For a moment, I lost my sense of self. It was as if I was being torn apart and remade all at once. When I landed, I collapsed onto solid ground, gasping for air. I looked around, confused. Gone were the ominous figures and twisted flowers. I was back in the woods outside the village. The day was brighter than I remembered, sunlight filtering through the trees, painting the ground in golden hues. "Is everyone okay?" I croaked, struggling to catch my breath. Cassie stumbled to her feet beside me, her face flushed with uncertainty. "What just happened? Did we escape?" The boy, too, was wide-eyed, staring at the forest as if it were a mirage. "I think we're safe," I said. But a nagging doubt stirred inside me, whispering that it wasn't truly over. The stone still glimmered in my hand, now warm and reassuring. I felt a connection to the twins, a pull that urged me to understand the darkness that had chased us. Suddenly, the rustling of leaves brought my attention to the edge of the clearing. From the shadows stepped a figure, and I froze. It was Elsie. Relief washed over me as I ran to her, but as I reached out, she hesitated, her expression filled with deep concern. "What have you done?" she asked, voice trembling. "The well, it's awakened. You have to go back." My heart sank. "What do you mean?" I glanced back at Cassie and the boy, confusion clouding my thoughts. The twins, if they're still trapped, we might not have truly escaped. The well feeds on those with the strongest connection. It will come looking for you. No, we pushed it back. We can't go back. I could hear the panic rising in my voice, the shadows of doubt settling in. You don't understand. The curse is not just about the twins. It's ancient, and it hungers, she said urgently, her eyes darting toward the trees as if expecting something to emerge. And it knows you. As her words sank in, the air chilled, and I turned to find darkness creeping along the forest floor, rising like mist. The whispers returned, softer now, almost sorrowful. "What is that?" Cassie whispered, her eyes wide with terror. "It's calling for you," Elsie said, stepping back. "You might have escaped its grasp, but it will seek you in your dreams, in your thoughts. It won't stop until it takes you back." My heart raced faster as I grasped the stone tightly, its gentle warmth anchoring me to the moment. "Then what do we do?" I asked, desperation rippling through me. "We gather strength. You must face it again, but you need to be prepared. The well speaks to those it wishes to reclaim. Find those who know the stories, uncover the origins of the curse, and build defenses." Elsie's gaze was fierce. "Only then can you help the twins. Only then can you free them. But what if it's all a trick?" I stammered, uncertainty gnawing at my resolve. What if the light was just a way to keep us from the truth? Elsie looked me dead in the eyes, as if searching my soul. "It's up to you to choose. The danger will always be there, lurking in the shadows away from the light. But to discover the truth about the twins, you need to confront it on your own terms." Suddenly, the air shifted, thickening as a chill crept around us. I felt the urge to flee. But it wasn't an option anymore. I needed answers. I had to confront the lingering connection to the twins, dive deeper into the stories buried beneath layers of fear that had long haunted the village. "I'll do it," I declared, steeling myself. "But I need help. We can't do this alone." Cassie nodded, finally finding her voice. I want to help too. The boy glanced between us, eyes wide but filled with determination. I'm in. A grim determination settled in the space between us. We stood together, warriors against the dark, but even as I felt that flicker of hope ignite within me, I knew the problem was far from over. The well-s whispers lingered in the wind, and in my heart, I wondered if we had merely traded one danger for another. As we turned towards the village, the shadows danced behind us waiting, watching, and still hungry. I could only hope the truth wouldn't consume us first. I took a deep breath and pressed forward, the weight of the unknown urging me on. As we stepped forward, I knew the journey ahead would be fraught with uncertainty, but perhaps that uncertainty was the only way to finally unravel the truth of the twins and the darkness that sought to claim us all.